For the second time in as many weeks, the Ohio State Buckeyes have a player who was named Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. Last week, Marvin Harrison Jr. This week, it's QB1, CJ Stroud. He was recognized by the conference for his performance against Toledo, and he continues to make strides to be a quarterback that we will be talking about for years and years and years to come.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is a Tuesday, September 20th in the year 2022, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we will discuss a few things that Stroud is doing right now in this season that make him more special than he was last year. And the NBA and NBAPA are expected to agree on lowering the draft age for players that could enter the NBA draft. That affects Chris Holtmann. We'll discuss how later in today's show. But before we get to any of that, CJ Stroud, QB1, went off over the weekend, and he was one of the players that was named Big Ten Player of the Week for what they did in their most recent matchup. CJ Stroud, man, I am marveling. I am amazed at the things that he does on the football field. Just looking at the numbers, it says one thing, but my eyeballs and what Stroud is doing on the field say something more descriptive that illuminates what Stroud's doing, and it just puts it right in front of me. Stroud is that dude, man. CJ Stroud is that dude. The Big Ten realized what he did over the weekend was not normal. If Stroud was named Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, honestly, as I would look back and I get the emails from the Big Ten announcing players of the week and other things that they announce throughout the week. I think this is the first week there were no co-offensive or no co-defensive players of the week at all. It was just one per category: offense, defense, special teams, and then also freshman of the week. Stroud, here are a few things that the Big Ten highlighted when naming Stroud Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week for Week 3. Stroud completed 18 of 20 passes for 297 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half alone. He finished with 367 passing yards and 5 touchdowns in the Buckeyes as they just destroyed the Toledo Rockets. Stroud recorded a completion percentage of more than 80% for the fourth time, while his 256.8 passing efficiency was the second highest of his career. Now, I don't know what the height is, what there's a cap on passing efficiency, but 256.8, buddy, that's pretty good. Stroud leads the nation with 11 touchdown passes. He ranks second in passing efficiency at 208.6 and ranks among the top 10 quarterbacks in 5 different categories: yards per pass attempt, points responsible for per game, completion percentage, and passing yards per game. Stroud earns his 3rd career Offensive Player of the Week award and his 10th career weekly honor. The last time CJ Stroud won this award was November 22nd of 2021. Stroud is that dude. Stroud is amazing. And I think over the weekend what we witnessed is that Stroud could be the quarterback that at the end of time, at the end of this season, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when people are debating who is the best Ohio State quarterback of all time, it might be CJ Stroud. Now, I know what you're going to say about, hey, man, it could be Dwayne Haskins, or it could be Justin Fields, or don't forget about Stroud at the end of this season is going to remind everybody, hey, I know what all these other guys have done. I know what Troy Smith did. I know what JT Barrett did, and Braxton Miller, and I know how Kenny Guyton allowed and helped the quarterbacks at Ohio State. I know what Dwayne Haskins did. I know what Fields did. I know what all these quarterbacks have done. But looking at me, I'm going to remind you very, very clearly, I'm QB1 at Ohio State while I was there. Not when I wasn't backing up Justin Fields. Once I got that starting role, I didn't let go of it. But then number 2, y'all going to have a hard time telling people that I'm not QB1 in all time at The Ohio State University. You might say, Jay, well, Ohio State's quarterback history is not great. Well, look at what we have seen just over the past decade. From Braxton Miller and his electricity on the football field to JT Barrett and his willingness and desire to never let his team down. Dwayne Haskins, the special year he had in 2018, a couple years of Justin Fields, and now we're getting CJ Stroud, who is not as athletic as Fields, but still utilizes his skill set in a phenomenal way, utilizes his brain and receivers in a phenomenal way. And Stroud, this past weekend, I don't believe this is going to be Stroud's last Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week award that he's going to win. I do think he'll take home some hardware at the end of the year as well. ESPN holds their awards ceremony, which is basically the Maxwell Award, the Doak Walker Award, all the awards that these clubs put together. The ESPN ultimately holds the ceremony, and they're the ones that hand out those awards on behalf of just hold the ceremony and things of that nature. There's also the Heisman. And if Stroud keeps this up, he'll be lifting that bad boy up in New York at the end of the season. Stroud's going to make it very, very hard if he keeps this up for people to not say he is QB1 at Ohio State all time. Not just in 2021, not just in 2022, but all time. Stroud is making strides to allow people to see, one, a quarterback at Ohio State can and will get better under Ryan Day from year 1 as a starter to year 2. We have seen already from Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, they're already making strides and getting better, even in their limited sample size and limited time on the field. Now, imagine what will happen when McCord or Brown is the full-time starter. Think about year 1 to year 2 and how they will progress and get better at that time. We're seeing it now with Stroud. This past weekend, I think it was just a glimpse of what we're going to see the rest of the year at Ohio State from CJ Stroud, because he's a man on a mission. He said it on the Pivot podcast. I'm going to reiterate what he said. 11-2, that's not good enough at Ohio State. That's not my standard. Right now, the Buckeyes are 3-0, and if Stroud keeps playing like this, the 11-2 record the Buckeyes had last year will not be the record they have this year, because Stroud is a man on a mission, and it sure seems like, based off what we saw over the weekend, it's a good chance that that mission he has will be accomplished. Stroud keeps making strides to get better, to improve. But what is he doing? What are some nitty-gritty nerd notes that Stroud is doing right now that he is showing improvement right now early in year 2 as QB1 at Ohio State? We'll discuss that next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. From cringing at the pump to getting an eye-popping check at your favorite restaurant, inflation is hitting us all where it hurts. And it really hurts. That's why I started using Upside. Upside is an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out. With every purchase, I'm earning cash back thanks to Upside. To get started, download the free Upside app, use my promo code LOCKED, that's LOCKED, and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Next, claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. Check in at the business, pay as usual with a credit or debit card, and get paid. It's that simple. In comparison to credit card rewards or loyalty programs, you can earn 3 times more cash back with Upside. Upside users are earning more than $1 million every week. That's probably why they have a 4.8 star rating on the App Store. Download the free, we all love free Upside app, and use promo code LOCKED, that's LOCKED, to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code LOCKED. I have said it once, I'll say it again. Buckeye fans are the best. Buckeye fans continue to impress me. I love seeing the interactions and YouTube comments, and I love seeing the growth on the Locked on Buckeyes YouTube page. We are inching closer to our goal of hitting 2,000 subscribers and subscriptions by the time of the kickoff of this weekend's game against the Wisconsin Badgers. Head to the YouTube, search Locked on Buckeyes, hit subscribe. It's free. It's that simple. Just by doing that, you're helping us reach our goal. While you're over there, go ahead and hit like on this video, leave a comment, and hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. Oh, did I say it's free? Everything at Locked on Buckeyes and Locked on Podcast Network, it's free for your enjoyment every single day. So CJ Stroud, we can marvel at what he does on the field. We can marvel at what he's doing early on in this season. We can marvel at his stats. We could ooh and ah and do different things that we do when we express how astonished or amazed we are at what someone is doing on the field. But we see it with our eyes. Can we describe what they're doing? Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's hard. One thing I have known, I can list a few things that Stroud is doing right now that are making him the quarterback you want as your QB1, not just at Ohio State, but all throughout the country. Well, I bet you there are fans down there in the South, not saying names, but in that conference where they say it just means more, I guarantee there are schools down there that would say, I'll take CJ Stroud over our quarterback right now. You can take a guess at what school or schools I'm thinking about right now. To go out west, I guarantee there are schools out there that will say, I'll take CJ Stroud as QB1 at my university. All over the country, Stroud is making strides. I know I was going to make that Stroud and strides connection and make that a phrase throughout the show, but here we go. So be it. Hopefully your boy does not get a little tongue-tied. Stroud is making strides. One thing I have noticed that Stroud is doing this year, a little bit better than he did last year, even though his ball placement was elite last year. It's more elite this year. There are numerous passes we're watching with Stroud where he is throwing the ball where only his receiver can get it. Now, I did highlight last year he did it against Michigan with Garrett Wilson. I think it was for a touchdown. He did it over the weekend with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Julian Fleming. But a lot of the balls Stroud is throwing, he is doing things that NFL quarterbacks do. As far as ball placement, dropping it in the bucket. Now, I think of elite ball placement, not so much dropping it in the bucket. I will discuss that in a second. But when I think about elite ball placement, where is he throwing the ball? Who can get their hands on the ball in the area that Stroud is throwing it? Is it only his receiver, or is the receiver and the defender and another defender? Who is there in the area that can defend this pass that's coming out of Stroud's hands? When Stroud is throwing the ball, he's throwing these balls in areas that only his guy could get it. For Marvin Harrison Jr., his 2 catches were a lot of touchdown catches where I'm thinking, like, that was not a touchdown. Oh, wait, the ball was there. Homie got his feet down, 2 feet like a pro, touchdown. Julian Fleming, I surely did not think that was going to be a touchdown. But what happened? Stroud threw the ball where only Fleming can get it. And that's something that I think gets overlooked, not just by people, just the average fan or your crazy fanatic fan. I think there are even some reporters and people that cover the Buckeyes, that cover football, that sometimes take for granted quarterbacks that can throw the ball where only their guy can get it consistently. That's not something you see every day. That's not a skill set you normally see in college. Stroud is doing things that is helping him make strides as Ohio State's QB1. Now, the dropping in the bucket, there are things that coaches will do in practice that will allow you to get better at that. You may see, hey, we're going to run this route. We're going to have a dummy or something that is holding up, that's forcing you to literally drop the ball or get the ball over the obstacle, and then you might just drop that thing down in there. You know how they say in basketball when you're shooting a free throw, just shooting in general, to go ahead and follow through, and a lot of people's follow through might be flat. Some people's follow through might be going downwards, and you're dipping your hand into the cookie jar. Well, ultimately, Stroud is doing that kind of motion. How when you're shooting, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm not the best shot at all. But if you're going down, if your follow through is down, that's similar to the way the ball is going right now with Stroud, because it's literally just right into the bucket. The bucket is the 2 hands of the receiver at Ohio State, and he's done this with not just the receivers. He's done it with Cade Stover. I I mean, we're getting cased over. You might want to say a skinny post or seam, whatever you want to call it. Stover's doing things. Now, we may do more with Stover here in a second because Stover's really impressed me. And I've heard something on a podcast. I think Jeremy Birmingham of the podcast was discussing some things that he had heard from a coach say about Ruckert last year and Stover this year. And it really made me ponder and wonder, maybe we misevaluated and misanalyzed the play and the player that Jeremy Ruckert was at Ohio State. But Stover, even with Stover, Stroud is dropping the ball into the bucket. These are amazing things that he is doing. But also, ultimately, I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from Stroud, this ball placement, dropping it into the bucket, the way that he's utilizing his arm and the velocity when making passes. But Stroud is letting the game come to him. He's not doing too much. He's not trying to make Heisman moments, the Heisman plays early in the season. He is just letting the game come to him. Now, last year, if Ohio State played a game like that against Notre Dame, I think Stroud would have been just fine. I would not have been worried about him. I may have been worried about other pieces of the team because that was a very, 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 very physical game. But I wasn't really worried about Stroud. But even this year, what did he do in that game? Did he need to throw for 450 passing yards? No. What did he do? What did the coach? Well, first, also the coaches helped as well. But Stroud just let the game come to him. He allowed the game to dictate what he was going to do, to move the ball down the field. And ultimately, it was with the aid and the help of the coaches to say, we're not going to just keep having Stroud throw the ball so much. When they needed a long drive, 14-play drive over 7 minutes, run. Numerous run plays that we didn't see happen as frequently and as consistently in the first half. We're seeing it now against Toledo. Yes, even though Toledo was an outmatched team, Stroud was not trying to come out here and be like, man, look, we're going to throw over 50 yards every time. No. He is letting the game come to him. Letting the game just take what the game's giving him and rolling with it. Let me say JS Elementary. How many quarterbacks in college are doing this? I'll wait. Let me know. Because there aren't a lot of quarterbacks in college that are doing the things that Stroud is doing right now. And it's amazing. It's next level. And if Stroud keeps making these strides like this, I said it before the season. I said it during the season. I'll say it again. Stroud will win the Heisman at the end of the year if he keeps playing like this, because this dude, he is a dog, and he has something special brewing right now in Columbus. We don't normally talk basketball at this point of the season, but with a big tweet that came from Shams Charania yesterday, a little tweak in the NBA draft directly impacts the recruiting at Ohio State. What tweak is it? We'll discuss that next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. Ooh. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more, and the best service in Central Ohio. Billiards Plus also can set you up with a brand new top-of-the-line grill that will last for generations. We all know how hard it is with the supply chain issues this year and getting certain things shipped on time. So when it comes to ordering that one big gift for Christmas, check out Billiards Plus and get there early this year. Pick something out and get it shipped in time for Christmas. It is a gift the whole family will enjoy year-round. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Alhassan, Canada, billiards, and more. Plus, top-of-the-line grills from PK, Napoleon, Memphis, and Le Griddle. That will be the last grill you own. Seriously, these grills stand the test of time. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Check them out at billiards-plus.com. Once again, check them out at billiards-plus.com. Billiards Plus, family owned and operated for generations. I was not expecting at all to talk or discuss anything basketball for quite a long time. Ohio State basketball media days are coming up. The season's going to be coming up in October. Scrimmage in October, season in November. Season will be here before you know, but basketball was not on my mind And then when I saw this tweet that Shams Charania was quoted in, Bleacher Report put the tweet out, said this tweet was the source. Well, the reporter was Shams Charania. I had to stop and pause and say, does this impact Ohio State? And how does this impact Ohio State? The tweet goes like this. I'll read it word for word. Quote, the NBA and NBAPA are expected to agree on lowering draft age eligibility from 19 to 18 in the new CBA per Shams Charania. The change would allow high schoolers to go straight to the NBA again, end quote. Now, I had a feeling, and there were rumblings and there were discussions, that this would happen really, really soon. Now, their vote also dictates, and you'll also find out when this will go into effect. Will it be the next year's, the 2023 NBA draft? Will it be the 2024 NBA draft? We'll have to wait and see. But all I know is, if I'm Chris Holtmann and I am trying to recruit all these elite athletes, and some of them being in the state of Ohio, I am wondering, how am I going to combat this? If I'm trying to get a guy who's a top 50 player or a top 20 player, next thing I know, he's contemplating going to the NBA, not going to the G League, the G League elite team. You can get cash money and still be in the G League or the minor league system for the NBA. You're going straight to the big leagues, the big dogs. How is that going to affect Chris Holtmann? Well, if you think the transfer portal made things harder for Chris Holtmann, and if you think that all the NIL make things harder for Chris Holtmann, imagine him trying to have an elite team and go after a guy who might win Mr. Basketball in Ohio or in a state or in the Midwest. And next thing you know, the same player is like, well, coach, I'm hearing my people is telling me that I could go top 5. And Chris Holtmann's like, hold on. You're doing what? People are saying what to you? And Chris, this might blindside Chris Holtmann. That player comes back and says, yeah, man, my people saying, man, I might be able to go top 5. Top 5 in what? Top 5 in NBA. And Chris Holtmann thought he had another one-and-done player like Malachi Branham, another guy who could come in and quickly fit into the offense, quickly fit into what Holtmann is doing with the Buckeye basketball team. And then next thing you know, that player that you thought could fit in is not there. This makes things really, really tricky. Now, I will say this also. Here's a little reality check. It's going to be rare for Ohio State. Just going to be honest with you. Like, you would think a school like Kentucky, a school like Kansas, a school like Duke, maybe USC out west who keeps putting guys in the first round of the NBA draft, different schools, Baylor, different schools all around the country, North Carolina. Most of your big-time schools are the schools that you might have to worry about, hey, the one and done. A Michigan might have to. And Ohio State might, but not like the other schools. So it's not going to really affect Ohio State like others, but with the way that the money is fueling decisions nowadays, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what's going to happen next with who is getting recruited at Ohio State or who's a high recruit. At the same time, next thing you know, the G League is not in the picture. It's going to the NBA. Straight to the NBA. That's going to be interesting. And I say money fueling decisions because if you go back to like when the one and done thing kind of picked up in the 90s, Kobe Bryant, special talent, straight from high school to the NBA. Lower Merion High School in, I believe, Philadelphia, PA. Kevin Garnett could not go to college because of his grades. So Kevin Garnett didn't have the option like others to go to college. And I've heard this numerous times. His grades were not good enough because he was trying to go to school, but the grades just weren't there. And the next thing you know, he's going to the NBA, drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, went to the Western Conference Finals in 2004. And he's a future, if he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame very, very soon. Should be first ballot. But a lot of these guys, man, back then at that time, different time period. I just wonder. I wonder how this is going to affect people. One, does this affect Bronny James? I have to throw it out there. He was at Ohio State during the Notre Dame game. You even saw a picture on the Instagram of him in an Ohio State jersey, and he kind of had a few poses. He was there with his dad, LeBron, and his mom, Savannah. I mean, you see Bronny James there. I don't know if Bronny James is an NBA player right now. He's a senior in high school. I do believe he's a senior in high school. But it doesn't matter. Who's his dad? What's his last name? Enough said. I am curious to see what's to come. I have no problem with them going back to this rule. I think it's going to hurt the brand and the play of college basketball. It's hurt it already. I think it's going to hurt it even more. Because players, I firmly think that players need to stay. If the NBA had a rule 2 years in college before going to the NBA, it's going to drastically improve, one, the level of play in college basketball, but two, you won't have to spend 2 or 3 years trying to teach guys basketball once they're in the NBA. The rule is going to be changing once again. High school athletes will be able to go to the NBA once again. Another wrinkle for Chris Holtmann to handle when thinking about how he's recruiting players and how hard he's going to go after them and how consistent he's going to go after them once this rule goes into effect. Guys, we're out here on a Tuesday, right here on Locked On Buckeyes. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Thanks again for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Now head over to the Locked On Big Ten podcast and check that out. Make that your second listen of the day. The host, Nate Dickinson, takes you on the conference with a local expert in 30 minutes every single day. Locked On Buckeyes and Locked On Big Ten. They're both free and available on the YouTube, on the Apple Podcast app, on the Odyssey app, on the Spotify app, or wherever you get your fine podcast.